You are listening to a special edition of the Central Indiana Sports Report, a recap of the Class 2A Sectional Championship Game at Elwood, won by the Lapel Bulldogs, 77-54 over the Sheridan Blackhawks for the program's first sectional championship since 2018 and the first under head coach Kevin Cherry, who will be joining me in just a moment with his thoughts on the sectional championship after I speak with Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call leader, sports editor Michelle Garmon, who was at the sectional on Tuesday and Friday and watched the sectional championship game and followed along on Saturday night. Get her thoughts on the Lapel Championship and look ahead to the regional against Blackford. Michelle, this weekend was all about the Bulldogs. Beat three opponents by 107 points.
Yes. The Lapel was just dominant in that sectional. We saw it all three nights. Granted, I know Frankton injury played into their 30-point loss, but, I mean, it might have made that score closer, but I don't think Lapel was going to be beaten in that sectional this year. Not the way they came in and not the way they played all three games.
Hey, I'm a Frankton grad. I completely agree with you. This was all about Lapel this week.
It really was. Cal just has so many weapons. Hey, we talked about that before. They always have five scorers on the floor and just threats. And that means defensively they can stretch you and they get you overstretched or closing you out too hard. And they back cut you to the basket. They're great in transition. They apply good pressure. Defensively, they're good. If you have the length and you have the size and the athletes to understand that little 1-3-1 that they run, that 1-3-1 can be a really hard defense to solve if you have the length and the athletes. And that's kind of what Lapel does. It'll be interesting because a team like Oak Hill that has more than one or two guards will make that challenging. That know how to handle the ball, but that's a ways away if they were to match up. I was just so impressed with Lapel. I was impressed with their balance, but I was really impressed by Owen Garber.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it on Friday night with Coach Cherry. That team really is. It's about balance and depth and teamwork and team first, but there's no doubt Owen Garber is becoming the go-to guy for that team.
Oh, yeah. 30 points in Saturday's championship. He didn't make a 3-point shot that game. Only shot 5 free throws, I think. I think he was 4 or 5 at the line. So that means 26 of his points came on baskets inside the arc. And some of them were layups. I know a couple of them were I saw, but that's the mid-range jumper. Garber has a complete game, I think, which is what makes him so tough to guard. And then you just surround him by guys that really can knock down threes, like Devin Craig, quarterback on their regional championship football team, the Cash Kid, and they got Luke Jones. And I think he comes off the bench because he was injured a lot, but he's got size and he can step out and knock down threes. And they just have just so many weapons.
Yeah, even with Garber at 30 points, they had 4 guys in double figures.
Yes, you had Cash had 15 points. Craig had 11. I forgot Liam Cole. He was the guy that got him off to such a great start in the first quarter of that Frankton game.
Michelle, for Sheridan, it was a really good week. Had a nice overtime win over Taylor, and then really competitive early in the game against Lapel. But then when Lapel exerted its will, it was all Bulldogs.
Sheridan, their win on Friday night was the first time in 5 years that they'd won a sectional game. So that was a big win for them, and to get that in overtime. And then Saturday, they came out and they were knocking down threes early in that first quarter and were hanging right with Lapel. But then, as Lapel has done that entire tournament, they just kick it up a notch. And once they kick it up a notch, they get past you. I will give Sheridan credit because they played even with with Lapel in the second quarter, each team scoring 9 points. But after halftime, the game totally belonged to Lapel. But you've got Billy Keller's grandson, Trey Page, had a really nice game. He led the Blackhawks with 23 points.
He had a really nice sectional, and he'll be back next year.
And then right behind him was Devin Hamilton, who had 12 points. And then Jax Pierman also was in double figures with 10. I think after that first quarter, for the most part, Lapel did, especially in the second half, did a nice job of making it hard for Page to get clean looks. What they did was they also did a nice job of not letting Hamilton get hot. I thought in that Taylor game, there was a stretch there where Taylor could have really, and when they were up like 10 in the second quarter, they could have really opened it up had Hamilton not gotten loose and hit some critical shots for them. So, that said, Sheridan had finished off a tremendous season, but Lapel is moving on. Like you said, they're going to get Blackford in the regional. It's going to be played on the Bulldogs' home court. Blackford has a sensational guard in Leggett, a good complementary piece in Kitterman, and then a late addition that gives them some size in the Petro kid.
And don't forget about Jacob Dillon. He's a rebounding machine, so don't forget about him.
I think he's going to have to be a rebounding machine because I think the key to beating Lapel is keeping them off offensive the boards, and then you being good on offensive boards so they can't get those rebounds and just get out and run. They like to get out and move the ball up and down the court. So it's, like I said, it is a big challenge for Blackford. I think for Blackford, they can use it. I think it'll be tremendous experience for the Leggett kid at the tournament to play at that level.
I think Pell is definitely the favorite heading into this game, but I can see a path for Blackford to win this for sure. And they'll probably have the best player on the floor. And anytime you have the best player, you have a chance. And I'd probably put it 55-45. Lapel, I think you'd probably have it higher than that, wouldn't you?
I do. I think Blackford may be able to slow it down for just a bit. I don't think they can. They're not going to be able to play at the pace like they did against Wapahani for a complete game against Lapel. And, I'll tell you, and Leggett can, but I'm telling you, Garber just keeps impressing me more and more. This kid is just getting better and better. And, it's just everything he does. It's not just the scoring, it's the other stuff he does too. He gets a lot of deflections. He's just stepped up. Garber's probably their best, but Craig's also had a game where he hit 10 3-pointers this year.
Right.
So, there's just.
And if no one on the starting five is hot, you go to the bench and you can probably find someone there who can get hot. So that's where Lapel is kind of coming from.
Lapel probably has a little bit more depth than Blackford. I think they're a legit 7 deep. And, that's a great rotation when you get to the tournament. And I think that sophomore lefty that came off and hit some shots, I think if pressed into a couple minutes in the game, he could handle that. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
All right, Michelle, can't wait for Saturday night. And for now, here is Lapel head coach Kevin Cherry with his thoughts on the Bulldogs Sectional Championship. Thanks so much, Michelle.
Thank you, Greg.
Well, Coach, you came into this sectional as the favorites. I think everybody felt it on our preview. I think everybody picked Lapel. But you still had to go out there and win the games. It was not an easy path. I don't think your team probably could have played much better this week.
We turned in 3 solid performances, and coming into that sectional in a one and done environment, there is a little more pressure, I guess, in that you make a mistake or an injury or multiple injuries or foul trouble, shots don't go on any given night. You never know what can happen in a sectional environment, and they call it March Madness for a reason. But I really felt coming into this thing that if we could play the way we're capable of and put 3 games together, we would have a great chance of winning that, and really proud of our guys for doing that.
Well, Coach, I know you're super excited for your players and for your coaches in your town. I asked you this the other night because I was there last year when you lost. How much of it is relief and how much of it is joy?
That's a tremendous amount of joy. It's joy and relief. It's relief in that our guys have worked so hard.
Right.
I'm happy for them that they get the reward, because success isn't a guarantee. You can work as hard as you possibly can work, and that still doesn't guarantee success. And for our guys to put in the work that they have and to get the payoff in success, in that in this way, it's measured by winning a sectional championship. Really grateful and happy for our guys. But along those same lines, and not to get too deep, but we talk about as a team or as a program is like wins and losses don't define us. And we don't ever want it to be just about wins and losses. And I think if you approach it that way, sometimes you miss the bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish. We want to stay process driven, data driven, being great teammates, being unselfish, all those things. And then the line we use is the scoreboard will reward maturity. And fortunately, that happened 3 times this week.
When you saw the draw, it was Frankton immediately, probably throughout the year, the second best team in the sectional. As it turned out, that might have been a good thing. Getting some confidence, beating your rivals like that kind of looked like it propelled you forward.
Well, the Franklin Lapel rivalry is certainly one of those that value Purdue, it's Duke, North Carolina, it's UCLA, USC. You throw all the records out when those kind of games come along, and you expect a great game. As I mentioned earlier, Brent does a really good job and an outstanding program. The coaches won a state championship, won a ton of games. And unfortunately for them, the injury bug hit them late in the season. And, I have to think that played into a little bit. But at the same time, I don't want to take anything away from our guys, because I thought we played really well in that game too. Despite them being banged up a little bit, I think on that specific night, it's a game that we still put ourselves in a great chance to win, everything else being equal.
And I think one of the most impressive things was, as a coach, you saw some, you felt slow starts, but your team just kind of took it to the other team and imposed your will each night. That was probably the most impressive part.
Yeah, that was. I agree with you on that. Actually, the start of the Elwood game, I thought Elwood did as good a job as controlling the first 3 or 4 minutes of that game with the pace that they tried to play and slow it down and really minimize possessions. But ultimately, we were able to speed them up and get that taken care of. But yeah, you're right. I think the start of each one of those games, for the most part, was really good. We had some turnovers in that Frankton, even the Lapel, and then with Sheridan last night, a few turnovers early that I think we just being in that moment and being 16, 17, 18 years old and that kind of atmosphere, that some of that is to be expected. But once we settled down in each one of those games, I thought we did a good job of taking care of the basketball. I thought we did a good job of really staying in the moment and not getting too ahead of ourselves. Human nature, our guys knew that we're probably the favorite coming into that thing, but human nature, sometimes that can be a curse in some ways. And I thought our guys did a really good job of stepping up and meeting that challenge each and every night last week.
Well, Coach, on Friday night, we talked about Owen Garber kind of becoming your go-to scorer, even though you pride yourself on balance and team. And last night, he really showed that.
Owen's playing really well, really high level, and he has for most of the season, really all season. And he does so many. He moves without the basketball as well as anybody I've coached. He seems to always be in the right spot, the right time. He anticipates. He rebounds it. He just has a knack of reading that ball and kind of getting an idea where it's going to come off the rim. Really happy with the way he's played, and he does it all within. I'm gonna say within the game. What I mean is, it's not like he's pressing or he's trying to go out and get 30 shots so he can score 25 points. He's very efficient. He'll score in transition, but he also was shooting a 3 at a pretty decent level this sectional week and has done so all year. So happy with his play for sure right now.
All right, Coach, I hope to talk to you later in the week for a regional preview, but your thoughts on Blackford and playing at home.
Well, happy to be playing at home. This morning we went to breakfast, we did church, and then this afternoon I'm going to be watching film and getting ready on Blackford. I know they obviously have a really good talent in the sophomore, a really good record. We have some common opponents, so that'll give us an idea of, just score-wise, seeing their schedule and their score-wise. I expect it to be a very good game, and fortunately we're hosting that, so I think that's a nice thing to have. But again, at this point in the season, all the teams are worthy of being there. All the teams are playing well, and we'll have to play great to be able to advance in this tournament come next Saturday.
Lapel head coach Kevin Cherry, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to talking to you later in the week. Thanks again to Coach Cherry and Michelle for joining me all week. Had a lot of fun watching basketball with her throughout the week. And thanks so much to Elwood and head coach and athletic director Ryan Van Skyok for being so welcoming, and to Frankton head coach and athletic director Brent Brobston, for both of them for all they've done all year. Look forward to working with them in the future. Should have a podcast with the two of them coming up pretty soon. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast with a basketball fan in your life. Help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. We did it, Daisy. We did another one. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. I love Susie. I love you too, Daisy.